Hello everyone, Jesse Webb, TradersPro. Market conditions remaining bearish in this bull market. Haven't ticked back up yet. That move yesterday, we had a little bit of a rally higher and then faded lower. We'll look at a chart here shortly. And we're seeing momentum continue to move to that downside. We've just about ticked back up into this trending zone, and we're starting to see some bottoming, or at least we're at the location for a bottoming bounce on momentum, and breadth hasn't moved at all. Sentiment really hasn't moved much either. So pretty normal looking charts for a counter trend retracement, but there could be bigger things happening right now with the overall market as a whole. So we'll take a look at a few different things going on. Buy-sell ratio is still wide, but kind of pausing right here on this move back up. And then also sentiment still just down in that bottom range, ticking back up for a day or two. And SPY, if we look at S&P 500, we've talked about this chart pattern also where we're just sitting. Now we've got this overhead resistance area, kind of this zone right here between here and here. This entire location right here is really now resistance, and the S&P stalled at that area. So we'll see if that continues to hold. If so, and we move back down, the next stop will either be this low or this 429 low. I talked about that 429 low across a couple of different time frames. If we go out to the 1 year, we're also that 429 is sitting just a little bit below this area. It's all that 433 to 439 range, and the 2 year also. We talked about this 2 year when we pull out to a 2 year, and the snap tool retrace is actually still showing the overall downtrend, and we've retraced back up to that 786 area and then pulling back. This is the other 429 location. So we should see some significant support right around 429 if we do slide back down. That could produce a support level enough for a move back higher. If we take a look at the sectors where we've got these we've got everything now. Even our energy has moved back into this hold range, so everything in a downtrend or either pausing an overall uptrend. So this is the energy chart right here on the 1 year, which is just paused. Let's go into the 6 month. It's pausing just a little bit, pulling back, and still looking good in that overall uptrend zone, but starting to retrace just a little bit. If we take a look at let's look at muscle ETFs, see if there's any new ideas there. One of the big discussions that we're seeing is in real estate. Obviously, obviously hedge interest rates are an issue, real estate's an issue, and now banking may be becoming an issue. This is the microsector's big bank negative 3X ETN, which is exchange traded fund essentially, where you're able to trade if the banking sector goes down by 1%, this will go up by 3%. So you're seeing a pretty big sell-off yesterday in the banking sector, which is pushing this higher. That's going to be an interesting chart pattern to continue to watch. In fact, let's go to sectors and let's go to financials. This is not going to be exactly, but you can see what's happening then on banks. So banks, or the financial iShares, which is going to include more than banks, is starting to slide through this next support area right here, and it held at least as of yesterday. We'll see if it holds it again today. There is some support ranges here where the ETF has been, but we could see that next slide to 73. There were a couple of downgrades, I believe, and some just more banking financial shenanigans happening out there. So I'd certainly be cautious of what is happening. When we start to see some of these cracks in trends, we just definitely have to be paying attention to what's going on here. And as I mentioned in the last video, there is a probability that this is still counter trend here. This is the trending direction, and this is counter trend, and that we continue to slide this direction. If that's the case, we're going to slide pretty quickly. And this actually is pretty quick move to the downside. we'd watch for a counter trend back up and then watching for this next move back down. That's going to be the real kicker right there, is how do we retrace this move? If we rally back up and we run into resistance, then we start to move back down again, we could have shifted directions and shifted trends. This is on that financial ETF, looking at this banking sector. We've also looked at this one, which is interest rates, pulling back a little bit. That 20-year bond, if we go to the sectors area, actually, no, let's go to the where do I want to go? The sentiment area. So the sentiment tab here under market trend, we've got, if you look at T-bonds, you're actually seeing an interesting chart pattern here where bonds have bottomed out and now they're making a new low in price, but we're getting some divergence in the overall sentiment. So this could be a really bullish location to be watching for a bond bounce. I know that it's been aggressively selling and we're seeing really sharp downtrends. If we look at, if we go to ETFs, sorry, I need to grab a quick drink here. The TLT is what I wanted to focus on. You can see how sharply we've been selling off, and it's all the way to the top. This is what we like to see in the other direction when we're looking for stocks, is we like to see stocks making new highs and having the snap tool grab that new high. The TLT is making new lows, and it's deeply oversold to, if we look at the 2-year, see if we can pull in that perspective, and this is the most recent low. So we're testing those lows. We could definitely see a bounce right here, and especially where there's so much negative sentiment on bonds, we could see a rally. Some of the data here is starting to show us that TLT could be bottoming out, especially based on that sector. Sorry, I'm all over the place today. The T-bonds divergence happening in price activity. Let's look at muscle stocks real quick, see if there's anything interesting there. CBAY, which is in this uptrend inside the buy zone, and if we switch back over to signals, you can see we're just back up above that move there, up above that 236, that trend zone area. And the new buy, let's go to NVIDIA. NVIDIA has earnings tonight. For some reason, I think one of the last updates I said it was on Monday, but it's actually tonight. So a lot of eyes on NVIDIA. It's got a new uptrend here and a new high on the 6-month time frame. So we'll see if the earnings, there's a really high probability of that they crush earnings again and it continues to the upside. It's getting to be a higher risk trade though, as it's pretty advanced in this overall trend. But who knows? This thing has been a high flyer. So keep an eye on NVIDIA today. Let's take a look at the next couple. MNSO, which is a retailer, a new high and a new breakout, which is a really nice looking entry. It's moved up into that extreme zone, but that's okay. This trend profile and fundamental profile is also looking good. It's relatively early in that extreme zone, and so seeing some positivity there. PAM, this is a utility. We talked about this one a couple weeks ago. Well, last week when it had a really volatile day. This was an earnings day, but this is a nice utility stock. I believe South American utility, Argentina, Brazil, something along those lines, and a nice looking pattern there. This is what we want to see. We want to see that snap tool grabbing onto that top range and then looking for that to continue the overall move higher. It is breaking out and closed above that area, so keep an eye on PAM today also. And AMRX, also a nice uptrend medical drug stock, moving higher up inside the trend zone. That'll do it for today's update. Everyone have a fantastic day today.